Bahraini intellectual says Islam needs to be re-examined. We need a culture of life, not a culture of death. In a thought-provoking interview on MBC TV, which is a Saudi channel, so this happened in Saudi Arabia, but the man is Bahraini. Shi'ite Bahraini intellectual Dhiyaa Al-Musawi called for a comprehensive reassessment of Islamic texts. Sounds like some Shia deviation to me. He critically addressed the way these texts have been interpreted and claimed that they have been, quote unquote, booby-trapped, turning the mentality of Muslim youth into a minefield. Al-Musawi emphasized the pressing need for modern Muslims, particularly the youth, to adopt a more enlightened approach to their religious texts and to move away from insular thinking. As he pointed out, many young Muslims are already shifting their perspectives, seeking knowledge from Europe and no longer viewing liberalism as taboo. With a powerful call to action, Al-Musawi exclaimed, quote, "I am calling for a culture of life as opposed to a culture of death," and highlighted the importance of embracing a worldly perspective rather than being solely consumed with the thoughts of the hereafter. He notably remarked, quote, our problem is not with the Quran, our problem is with its interpreters. So, Armin, I think you'd be very interested in watching this video because there's so much about this that I was like, I just really want to get your reaction to this.
Okay.
So this has translated with subtitles. Do you want me to be the one to read the subtitles or do you?
Yes. You
Okay.
read it.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Let's play this. Oh, an
no.
error. Let's try again.
I'll bring it up on my computer just in case. Oops.
Let me try one more time. Where did the video go? Oh, here. Okay, I think I got it. Oh, got it. Go.
I love me some memory TV.
Okay, here.
Our problem is not with the Quran. Our problem is with its interpreters.
Okay, first of all, the problem is with the Quran.
مشكلتنا مع القرآن الكريم، مشكلتنا مع المفسرين.
The so-called preachers who said that you are a preacher.
هؤلاء ما يسمون ببعض الدعاة. من قال أنك داعية ومن نصبك؟
Who appointed you to be a representative of Allah?
وكيلا عن الله. لماذا دائما
Why do we always need an intermediate between Allah and us?
وسطية بيننا وبين الله. ومن
Sounds like Martin Luther.
I thought the same thing. Who said that you possess the absolute truth?
تمتلك الحقيقة المطلقة. فإذا
So our crisis stems from the texts.
هذه مسألة نحن نعاني من أزمة نصوص
These texts need a re-examination, and then the person interviewing him jumps in and says revision.
تحتاج إلى إعادة قراءة.
مراجعة. Right. We should examine history as critics, not as admirers.
يجب أن لا ننظر إلى التاريخ بعين المعجب ولكن بعين الناقد. دوري أن أخذ.
My role is to direct the youth toward the enlightened reading of the texts.
خذ الشباب إلى حيث المنهج التنويري، إلى حيث قراءة النصوص. عندنا نصوص مفصلة.
Our texts have been booby-trapped.
عندما تنظر إلى
The mentality of our youth has become a minefield because of these texts.
الشاب تنظر إلى عقله تجد ساحة ألغام بسبب النصوص. أنا أدعو
I am calling for the removal of
شباب الجيل الحالي ولا شباب الجيل الجيل.
And then so the host says, he's like, do you mean this generation? And then he continues and he says, our generation. Yeah, the previous generation, myself
Oh my God, why did he interrupt? Why did he interrupt him? The removal of what? He was asking for the removal of, holy crap, that was the most important part. The host, God damn it, shut the F up. I was going to, why did you interrupt him? I was going to say, he was asking for the removal of, and I was going to wait to see if it's going to be a core part of Islam or not. But like, I was going to jump on him, like, you can't remove that from Islam, but he didn't let him. Okay, go on.
Sometimes when you scratch your head, you find a time bomb.
احيانا تحك شعرك تطلع لك قنبله موقوته بسبب
because of these booby-trapped texts.
Go back to making that point that you were making. God damn it.
النصوص المفخخه. اليوم الشباب حتى بعد.
Today, young people, even Shiites, are seeking change.
على المستوى.
They should really stop writing Shiites like that. Like, I don't really understand. Like,
البيت.
Seriously, it's Shia. It's Shiite. Even shits. Even little shits. Even these little shits. Okay.
الشيعي هناك شباب يتطلع إلى التغيير. فتح على أوروبا.
They have opened up towards Europe. They no longer see liberalism as a curse.
نظر إلى الليبرالية.
Oh, well, I wonder why.
أنها ليست لعنة. حولوا الليبرالية.
Liberalism and openness used to be presented to them as hell.
إلى جحيم. أن الليبرالية أو أن الانفتاح أو أن الحضر كما يحدث حتى اليوم.
But today, even Saudi Arabia is leading towards a more balanced future.
على مستوى المملكة العربية السعودية تقود إلى نحو أفق متوازن وليس إلى إلغاء.
And not towards the abolishing of religion.
الدين كما يحدث في البحرين كما يحدث في الإمارات.
This is also happening in Bahrain and in the UAE.
الشيعة في الخليج عموما.
What do you think? And then the host asks him, what do you think about the Shiites in the Gulf?
كيف تشوف وضعهم؟
أنا أرى
From what I have read and having met with many young people,
أن هناك يعني من خلال تجربتي وقراءتي والالتقاء بكثير من الشباب هناك وعي.
I believe that a new mentality is emerging.
متجدد آخذ في النمو. هناك أمل على.
There is hope for change.
ناصية التغيير وهو عبر هؤلاء الشباب.
Because of these young people who studied abroad.
الذين درسوا في الخارج من الذين مارسوا.
Who exercised criticism.
النقد من الذين بدأوا.
And who began to discover that behind the prison bars.
يكتشفون أن خلف الزنزانات هناك حدائق.
There are gardens of knowledge and culture.
معرفية وثقافية الإنسان لابد.
People should dress elegantly, study, get out and see the other world.
النقل لابد يلبس لابد يدرس لابد يطلع يشوف العالم آخر ثقافات.
See other people's cultures.
آخرين يقرأ التاريخ.
And study history as a critic and not as an admirer.
بعين الناقد وليس المعجب. هناك فوبيا.
Just like there is Islamophobia, we suffer from a fear of women.
المرأة كما يوجد إسلاموفوبيا عندنا فوبيا المرأة وعندنا فوبيا أوروبا.
Well, that's
a fear of Europe, a fear of Western civilization, a fear of the other, a fear of anything.
Okay, well, but he's saying it's considered Islamophobic, by the way. But yeah.
عندنا فوبيا الحضارة الغربية وعندنا فوبيا الآخر. أي شيء هناك حالة من.
We suffer from stress and schizophrenia.
التوتر. عندنا شيزوفرينيا انفصام. هو والله يعيش الدنيا وفكر في.
People are living in this world, but they are thinking about the hereafter.
Well, what are you gonna do? That's the Quran. Like, if you're against that, the entirety of the message of the Quran is that. What do you want to change then?
في الآخرة لا فكر في الآخرة.
Okay, think about the hereafter, but do live in this world.
عيش الدنيا. أوهم الشباب أن الدنيا هي
Young people are deluded to believe that this world is a curse, a prison.
I wonder where they get that from. It's in the Quran. It's the dunya versus the akhirat. Like, have you read the Quran? Like, how could you like reinterpret the Quran? That's the entire point of the Quran. Jesus Christ.
ملعنة. الدنيا عبارة عن سجن يجب أن لا تعيش في
That they should not live in this world and should not espouse a culture of life.
الدنيا. يجب أن لا تعيش ثقافة الحياة. نحن ندعو إلى ثقافة.
I'm calling for a culture of life as opposed to a culture of death.
Well, then there's no point in looking into reinterpreting your text. That's not where you're going to find it.
ثقافة الحياة في قبال ثقافة الموت. يعاني الشيزوفرينيا.
People are suffering from schizophrenia that sometimes degenerates into other illnesses.
أحيانا تصل إلى أمراض أخرى، الارتياب كما طرحت.
Like paranoia, as you said.
البارانويا كله خايف ويتهيأ.
People are afraid and they think that the entire world revolves around them.
لأن العالم كله يدور حوله، هو المحور العالم.
And that they are the center of the world or of the universe.
هو محور الكون والنظريات كلها.
They believe in conspiracies.
تريد أن تقتل المسلم.
They believe that everybody in the world wants to slaughter the Muslims.
وتريد أن تذبح المسلمات. مو بهالطريقة.
It does not work this way. The world is too busy to care.
العالم مشغول عنك. هناك مؤامرات.
Indeed, there are conspiracies, but it is not that the entire world
موجود، ولكن ليس كل العالم مؤامرة ضد
is a conspiracy against Islam or religious people.
الدين أو ضد الإسلام أو ضدك كشاب متدين.
Okay, that was amazing. That was interesting.
Super interesting. So what do you make of that? Because I thought I found he was being quite honest in a way, some ways. And also, this is on Saudi TV.
Oh yeah, Saudi TV. The Saudis are celebrating stuff like this like never before. They're gonna constantly push narratives like this. But here's the way I want to look at this. Okay, this might sound contradictory. Okay, I celebrate this, but I don't encourage it. Okay, I celebrate this as a sign, but not a solution. Do you understand what I'm saying? Liberalism is winning. This is a sign that liberalism is winning, but this is not doing it. This is just a sign of it happening. This narrative is actually, yes, this demonstrates that this is a defense mechanism and we should not allow it. We should be happy that the defense mechanism itself shows that the liberalism is taking over. But this narrative by itself keeps the religion alive and slows down the progress of liberalism. So this is why I say I celebrate it, but I don't encourage it. I celebrate it because I see it as a sign that something is working, but what's working is not this narrative itself. The anti-religion narrative is what works. The more people move away from religion, the more narratives like this we are seeing, but it's not thanks to this narrative. The direction of causation is the opposite of what people think. People think this narrative is causing the progress. I say no, it's the progress that is causing this narrative. This narrative is not doing anything. If anything, is holding us back. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anything that is trying to preserve so if any narrative that tries to preserve the religion to remain relevant is not going to help. The change is happening regardless of the narrative that tries to preserve the religion. So you don't need to help them preserve the religion. You just need to run over them, basically.
Well, because it's not the forces of preserving the religion that are actually going to force it to progress. What forces it to progress is pressure.
Yes, this is just a reaction to the pressure. The pressure is causing people to try to come up with ways to preserve the religion, but itself is not itself is not doing anything to help. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Zaid is saying baby steps, Armin. People are not going to drop the Quran overnight. That's not what he's saying.
You do not understand at all what I'm saying, Zaid. Okay, I'm not asking. Oh my God, this is such a misunderstanding of everything we're saying. I believe in baby steps, but baby steps in the right direction. The narrative to try to preserve the religion itself is not a baby step in the right direction. It's a baby step. Every time I say that the move should be against religion, people think that I expect the entire society to just become atheistic overnight. That is not at all what I'm saying. Okay, just because we believe in baby steps doesn't mean that you have to try to defend the religion.
Yeah.
Even when you are moving against the values that comes from religion and push against religion, the steps, the effects of that progress will be slow. It will be. I am the one who always says that any Muslim who still remains a Muslim but has less Islamic life, that is still a progress. But you get that by pushing against religion, not by defending it. That baby step that you're asking for comes from the forces that pushes against religion. What you're seeing here is the symptom of that pressure. This itself is not causing that baby step. Guys, please understand, this is very important to understand. I do agree with baby steps, but you don't get that from defending religion. It's
Well, let
very
me say,
important to understand.
here's a comparison. I think about it like this. Like, the Islamic Republic of Iran does not change its behavior because of the policies of the reformists. The Islamic Republic of Iran is forced to change its
Right.
behavior because of the existential threat posed to it by opposition and threats of toppling, right? So
Right.
it's like that.
It's like that. Yes, exactly. There's a, for example, even the Christian world did not become less Christian, for example, because religious people decided to reform Christianity from within. Okay, the reason why the Christian world is more liberal right now is because the movement against organized religion. So it wasn't the Protestant Reformation. If you look at the Protestants, they were a lot more radical in many ways than the Catholics themselves. It wasn't the Protestant Reformation that was responsible in this shift in ideology. It was the Enlightenment movement. It was the Age of Enlightenment. There was a movement against organized religion as a whole. And again, a lot of people still remain Christian. A lot of the thinkers themselves were Christians as well. But again, this movement against religious thought
In
made
favor of rationality. Yeah.
in favor of rationality is what the reform movements that came after were a reaction to the push against religion. The religion itself did not become more like religious people did not become more tolerant and liberal because there was a reform from within. There was a threat from outside that forced them into a reaction. So if you study history, when you see what causes this reaction, then you have to focus your attention on that pressure, on the pressure that caused it everywhere else. We see this time and time again in history. So what I'm saying is, stay against religion and do not tolerate anybody that tries to come up with a new narrative in saying like, oh, we could look at the Quran in a different way. No, I think if you want to see more narratives, even like if you like this narrative and you want to see more narrative like this, then don't encourage it, because just keep fighting against religion, because fighting against religion is what's responsible for narratives like this. Anyways,
I think Zaid is bringing up a good point, though. He's talking about it from, so Armin is talking about it from a perspective of broad global social narratives and forces, and Zaid is talking about it from the perspective of an individual in the microcosm of society, saying there's no other way, though. If you come out against religion directly, living in one of these countries, you would be shut down immediately. So he's speaking from the perspective of the lived reality of being there and the risks involved.
I'm not talking about whether this guy what he's doing, if he should be doing it or not. Okay, what I'm saying is that this guy saying this thing is as a result of religion being defeated. So I'm talking about us. if you want to see more people being forced to say stuff like this, then we should stay against religion, because that's how you even get this kind of narratives possible. You shouldn't be encouraging it. We should stay in our fight full on against religion if you want to see this retreat. Is that retreat? Is that like this? Is that a no? This surrendering. This is a surrender. This is a surrender to liberalism, and it only happens because we pushed liberalism against religion. So we know what we're supposed to do. We know what the fight that we're supposed to fight. We have to constantly. We should not say that this. We should not endorse this. We should not be content with this. We should not be. This is okay. You know, when you are fighting against a dragon, if you see it injured, you don't like, okay, it's injured, so let's go. Okay, because it will recover and come back and freaking burns the village. When your dragon is injured and you're standing on top of it with the sword, you finish the job. And what you're saying, what you're saying right now, if the dragon is religion, this is an injured dragon. So make sure that you just shove the sword right into its heart.
Yeah. I just want to be clear. I think like the disagreement was about kind of this happens all the time when we're talking about like really broad overarching social narratives and forces on a very large scale versus, and then what that means for an individual in their actually everyday life. So I think, yeah, we're on the same page. It's just,
right.
Yeah, what is it like for that individual is what he was talking about. But yeah, I thought this was like so interesting, and I was really excited to get your reaction.
Yes. By the way, just to be clear, guys, the dragon here stands for religion, not religious people. Okay, when I'm talking about swords and shoving swords into hearts, okay, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about an ideology. I'm talking about religion. Okay. I hope we understand here. Okay, so secularity is funny. All right, so we got a whole bunch of super chats that we want to get to, right?
Oh, true. Yeah. Gasian American sent a super chat saying a hadith says seek knowledge as far as China.
Yeah. It's literally the only hadith that people go to try to explain the so-called golden age of Islam, which I call it the golden age of North Africa and the Middle East, right? This is the only thing they have. There's like a crap ton of hadiths, and this is the only one that they have that try to use as a reason for why the golden age happened. Okay, but that's not the reason. We have more hadiths and more verses in Islam that is anti-knowledge, anti-science, anti-progress than this tiny little. I acknowledge that this hadith is true, that it exists. Okay, I don't know. I think it's a weak hadith, but I have to double check that. So I don't think it's an authentic hadith, but I could double check that. But no, that's not the reason why the golden age happened. The reason why it happened is because any empire that reaches enough wealth eventually starts focusing on poetry, philosophy, art, and science, right? It happens with every single empire. Even the Mongols eventually will like, we should stop destroying things and start building right? So,
that's kind of our thesis, our modus operandi, but maybe we should calm the fuck
down. right. Okay.
Animation. So in reaction to that, very modernist Muslim guy said the ship of Theseus. You can change a ship bit by bit until nothing of the original remains. Interesting comparison. Thank you for the super chat.
So the problem with religion is that it makes the change more difficult, right? So values constantly change through history, and they become better and better and better. What religion does is it comes and takes a snapshot, and we're like, okay, let's not change anymore. Okay, so the whole concept. So if you're seeing change here and you're celebrating the change, then that's why we're against religion, because this change is natural. What this change would always be happening. It's when you claim a certain values to be the word of God, that's what makes the values sticky. So what we should be against is not this law here or this value here or whether this is, this is the wrong approach to go like, oh, Islam is against women's rights. Maybe we should change that. It's against gay rights. It's against democracy. It's against secularism. It's against free speech. Maybe if we change this and this and this, then it will be fixed. The problem is not that these values are wrong. The problem is that the whole idea of this being the word of God that makes it so difficult to move forward, right? So the core of it, it's like chains that like we're trying to move past, but this whole idea that these are the word of God makes the whole process slow. So if you want to target something, the main thing that you should be targeting is not like, is this against women's rights? Maybe we should change this. Is this child abuse? Maybe we should change this. You have to see what is holding all of this back. It's the claim that this is the word of God.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Perfect, uncreated.
Yeah. Okay.
And Gaijin just gave us another super chat saying, are you sure that Hadith wasn't supporting the People's Republic of China's policies?
Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, actually you're right. Oh wow, that's a completely new look on that Hadith. If you wanna learn fascism Islamically, go copy the PRC. Right, yeah. Okay, so you start this one from Skyfall.
Oh, Skyfall's just saying, hi, I love you, Susie and Armin. Salam, Skyfall June. Happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. I'm gonna see Skyfall soon after this show. So
what are you gonna talk about on the Persian show today?
We're gonna talk about how the Quran claims that comes from your backbone. Okay. Instead of your testicles, as as shown by science, right? So yeah, by the way, for people who don't know, the Quran thinks that your cum comes from your back. It doesn't know that it comes from your testicles, right? So that's in the Quran. So we're going to analyze that. Yes. Also, we are going to, by the way, somebody tried to actually claim that actually it is referring to testicles because it's using to refer to back is using a word that kind of seems like a cross. And what do you do with the cross? You hang people from a cross, and your testicles are also something that are hung. So it actually is referring to the testicles. So I saw somebody try to, on the Persian show, somebody was like, no, this is not an error in the Quran. What you think is saying everybody has interpreted this to be the back, but this guy is like, no, this has been a mistranslation for hundreds of years. This is actually referring to testicles because the testicles are hung just like you hang somebody from a cross. So just
you know what? I appreciate the creative levels of the reach.
Right. Yes.
I appreciate the creativity.
This is what people mean when they say about reinterpretation of the Quran to make it more according to modernity. They're talking about just realizing that testicles are hung just like somebody is hung on a cross. That's what they're talking about. Anyways,
you don't nail your testicles to the tree.
You don't? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I hope not.
Okay.
Okay. The Asian American is also saying come from the backbone is also a Brahmin belief.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do. And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.